and we'll go ahead and get started. So first off, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Samantha Davis, and I am the Undergrad Research Program Coordinator at the Center for Science and Engineering Partnerships. And I'm going to be presenting today, but I hope that we'll at least have a little bit of back and forth. And I want to thank the SOCNIS students for putting this together today. I'm going to talk about undergraduate research at UCSB kind of in general, but the way I've kind of thought about this talk is I'm going to put this talk as part one, we're going to talk about why do undergraduate research, and part two is going to be how. And I'm really focusing the how part today on putting together, excuse me, a statement of purpose, because the statement of purpose is a really important part of the application for an undergrad research internship. And it's also like probably the most subjective, and it can seem like the most challenging part. It's also one of the most important parts, and the, I think, biggest way that you can make your case for why you're a good fit for the program. So that's how I'm going to divide up this talk. I just want to first invite you all to use the chat. So I might ask you some questions, or if you have questions for me, I'm going to make sure I can open up the chat so I can see it. I'll check it periodically, but I just want to encourage you, if you have questions, to use the chat to get in touch with me as I'm moving through this presentation. So yeah, what are we doing here? So first, my introduction to myself and undergrad research in general. So like I said, I'm the Undergrad Research Program Coordinator at the Center for Science and Engineering Partnerships, which is a center on campus that's focused on broadening participation in research at the university and also research careers. So we want to support students from underrepresented groups, from low-income backgrounds, any student who wants to have an opportunity to do research, but maybe has a few barriers. We are interested in supporting those students as they get research experience and decide how research can be a part of their time at UCSB as well as beyond. I'm also, excuse me, a lecturer in the Ecology, Evolution, and Marine Biology department. And I'm not sure, some of you might be, I'm teaching this quarter, so some of you might be in my classes. I see students, you know, not in person because it's COVID times, but I see some names sometimes that are familiar in these different talks. So what I like to do at UCSB is really work with students. So I'm really invested in helping students, you know, in my job as a lecturer in terms of teaching classes, but mostly I'm working with students who are interested in undergrad research and helping them find those opportunities. My background is, I did my PhD in ecology, as well as my bachelor's at UCSB, and I did a double major in aquatic bio and a BA in French. And the reason why those are relevant is because I'm going to tell you a little bit about how undergrad research helped, was a transformative experience for me and helped me really unlock, discover what I wanted to, how I wanted to combine my interests. And my advice to you is going to be to use this crazy time while we're all, you know, everything is uncertain and we're all kind of in positions and times that we didn't really expect this year. I talked to many students who had a lot of plans for what they were going to do this year, and everything's changed. But that doesn't mean it can't be a useful time. I know a lot of students are thinking about how to leverage this time that they have to think about what they're going to do in the future. So I want to encourage you to do that. And specifically, I want to encourage y'all to think about undergrad research if you haven't already, and to seek out support from people and organizations on campus that can help you. So like I said, I did my PhD in ecology, and specifically I studied marine ecology. And my research journey began as a junior at UCSB. I applied for a research scholarship award through Ecology, Evolution, and Marine Biology department. And the award is called the Worcester Award, and I believe that it is still offered through the department, and also in physics, if anybody's in physics. But basically, the award provides funding for a graduate student and an undergrad to do research together. And winning this award during my junior year allowed me to travel to French Polynesia, which is in the South Pacific. And specifically, I went to the island of Moorea. And I had an opportunity to work with a graduate student who was working on studying coral ecology. And while I was there, I assisted her in learning about research tasks and all of her research tasks. And I also was able to develop my own, excuse me, my own project. And this was a truly transformative experience for me because it took me from learning about things in the classroom, which I thought were cool, to being able to like test ideas and see how the stuff I was learning about in my classes was actually, how that knowledge was actually created. So it changed the direction of my life. At that point, I knew that I was studying aquatic bio, but I didn't know what I was going to do. And then this experience led me to think, wow, research is really interesting. And also I felt a little bit of confidence that maybe it's something that I can do. And I think those are really important takeaways that a lot of students have after doing undergrad research. So usually I would talk about this a lot more than I am today, but we have a number of different things that we need to cover today. So why would you want to do research? I think for me, especially from my experience working with undergrads, there are really like four main reasons. So I think that the first thing that you want to do would be to explore career options. So you're at UCSB, you pick a major because you're interested in the classes, but like in the back of your mind, you know that at some point you're going to graduate and then it's going to be like, what am I doing with this? And I think it's very normal to, get to the part where you can pick a major and be like, okay, that's great. But like thinking about what you're going to do with it, maybe you have a lot of ideas, but you don't really know which of those are, feasible for you, are interesting to you, what those jobs would entail. So one of the things that is great about research is that it allows you to kind of explore whether research would be a good career option for you. And it should, if you try research and you don't like it, you want to try something else. It's really just, research is one of the ways that you can explore what you can do with your major. Like I mentioned also, it gave me the opportunity to engage with what I was learning in my major. So, which was huge. There was a noticeable difference in my grades, which is just one metric. But after I did the research project, my grades were, my ability to understand my upper division classes, my grades improved, and I felt like I had a deeper understanding of the knowledge. And that was a huge part of that was because I was doing research. And in research, you're taking knowledge from different areas and trying to combine it together to do something new with it. So you're really engaging with topics at a deeper level. And so just by doing research, I feel like a lot of students have expressed this as well as me, that you can really engage with your major more deeply. Another reason is preparing for professional school. So undergrad research is obviously going to be an important part of successful applications. It's not to say that you can't get into graduate school without having an undergrad research experience, but it's going to make your application a lot stronger. If you want to go to graduate school and you're applying to go to graduate school, it's a really good idea to be able to have some experience in doing research, because when you go to graduate school, that's what you do. But also professional schools. I think a lot of students, some from our programs, but mostly from students that I've interacted with from my teaching positions, a lot of them have taken their research experiences on to professional schools like medical school, pharmacy school, dental school. Some of them have gone on to law school, and it's a you can use your research experience in a variety of different ways. So that's another reason to think about doing research as an undergrad. And then I think one of the things that people don't think about a lot is building your professional network. So a lot of what you're doing in undergrad is building your peer network. You're meeting friends in your classes, in your non-class related pursuits, and like developing relationships with people. One of the things that you can do, like for example, if you're in a fraternity or sorority, it's a huge part of being in that group is actually using it to build a network. So research is also a network where faculty, graduate students, postdoctoral scholars, and undergrads can all connect and support each other. And so you've heard probably about fraternity brothers and sorority sisters connecting with alumni who help them find opportunities. That also happens if you have a well-developed research network. So these are some of my 4 top reasons that I would suggest exploring research. And so to kind of round out this portion of today's presentation, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the opportunities that we have at the Center for Science and Engineering Partnerships coming up. So if you guys have the chat, can I just see if people can just put what's their class level? So are you guys freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors? Can you just to somebody respond in the chat just to see? Okay, so I see mostly sophomores and some freshmen, juniors. Great. Is anybody from a community college in the group? Okay, we've got some people from community college. Great. So thank you for coming. I know that we had Santa Barbara City College representing and perhaps some other ones as well. So I want to encourage the City College students especially to check out, I'm sorry, not the City College, the community college in general, including Santa Barbara City College, to check out our website, which I have on the slide here. Because at this site, we have more descriptions about each of these programs. And so let me just talk briefly about these programs. And just so you know, I don't have a lot of time to go into all of them in great detail, which is why I'm including this website. If you just look up CSEP, UCSB, you'll find our website and you can navigate to the page for undergrads. But the programs that we've got coming up, first off, the applications for most of these will be opening up soon. And most of them will close in, I think, January and February. But if you're interested in pipelines, you'll want to check that website out because some of the deadlines are earlier. So one program that we have is specifically for UCSB freshmen who are in any STEM major, and that's the Eureka program. If you're interested in trying research and you're a freshman, the Eureka program might be a great opportunity for you. A lot of times freshmen worry about not having a lot of experience, and the Eureka program is specifically designed for students who've been at UCSB for a full quarter. They usually apply in their second quarter. So they have 1 quarter under their belt. And we understand that, there's not a lot of coursework experience that you can have at that point. But we partner with a lot of faculty on campus in all STEM majors who are willing to support freshmen with a graduate student mentor and help them do an independent research project over the summer. So Eureka is a great program and no prior research is required for Eureka. We also have the Mark Scholars Program, which is a program funded by the National Institutes of Health, and it's specifically for sophomores who are interested in biomedical research. So if that's you, you might want to check out the Mark Scholars Program, which is a 2-year research scholarship. It comes with a partial tuition and fees support for 2 years, as well as stipend. And it has a number of really cool opportunities. So check that out if you are a sophomore interested in biomedical research. The SOCNA Scholars Program is actually a new one that has come online this year. And the SOCNA Scholars is open to UCSB freshmen through juniors. So anybody that has 1 summer and the following academic year before they were to graduate. And so these students receive training in research. They are matched up with a faculty and graduate student mentor, and they do an independent research project in the summer and then carry that into the academic year. Additionally, SOCNA scholars have the opportunity and financial support to do some campus leadership training and involvement in the SOCNAS program. So if you're in SOCNAS right now and you want to do research, or you're thinking about joining, definitely check out this this program. And this program, we're still getting all the information together. So if you can't find anything, I'll give you my email at the end and you can email me and we can talk. Oh, never mind. It's on this slide. So you can email me if you need any more information and you can't find it. The Gorman Scholars Program is another program similar to SOCNUS. It's open to UCSB freshmen through juniors in any STEM major. And students receive training in research and professional communication. It is like I said, a summer and an academic year program. So you need to have a summer plus a year before you graduate. And then Pipelines. Pipelines is open to UCSB juniors and community college students. So those of you who are in community college, you might want to check out this program. It's a team-based research project. It's a partnership with the US Navy, community college, and UCSB. So students work on a team-based project for the summer program. And then there's an academic year component as well. So if you're interested in pipelines, like I mentioned before, you're going to want to check out the website as soon as possible. And you'll want to make sure that you see the deadlines that are available. Okay, and then Quantum Foundry is another program that is open to UCSB students and community college students. So, oh, sorry. So we got a comment in the chat from Marianne. So check it out. Marianne has graciously said to ask her any questions about the SOCNUS Scholars Program and given her email. So thank you, Marianne. So Quantum Foundry, mistake, it's actually for community college students. So yay, check out the website as well for information on that. It's a typo on my end. So it's a recently funded research program that's focused on developing materials and interfaces that are needed to power the coming age of quantum electronics. So it's really cutting edge stuff. If you're interested in any of that, you'll want to check out that website too. We're working on getting the deadlines, getting the applications and stuff together, but you can read more information about the programs. Okay, so before I go to the second part of the talk, someone said I can't find the Quantum Foundry on the website. Try searching Quantum Foundry at UCSB. I actually think they have a separate page. It should be linked from our site, but try looking Quantum Foundry UCSB, try Googling that, and you'll probably find it. Any other questions? You can unmute or put them in the chat. Okay, thank you, Ophi. We have the Quantum Foundry website in the chat. Okay, so if there aren't any questions, I have some questions for you before we move to the next section. So how many of you, is anybody thinking about applying to a internship program, a research internship program? If you are, put yes, and then put one of the programs that you're thinking about in the chat. Great, one person's interested in pipelines. Is anybody else interested in research programs? Eureka, great. It's all coming in. SOCNUS, Eureka, awesome. So I hope that if you have any questions like Nick did about, oh, I can't find this site or something like that, either put it in the chat here or send me an email and I'm happy to answer those questions. So it looks like many of you are thinking about some of the programs that I just mentioned. So for those of you who haven't answered, maybe you're thinking about another program that we haven't listed. That's totally okay too. Maybe you are not quite sure whether you want to do undergrad research. So is anybody want to share? I think what we'll do now is we'll move to the second part of this talk where we're talking about, okay, many of you want to get into undergrad research, how to do it, how to kind of take the next step. So we will move to the next part of this, which is kind of the like meat and potatoes today, which is focusing on the statement of purpose. So how to write a statement of purpose. So the overview for this is we're going to discuss what's the point of a statement of purpose, what should be in your statement of purpose, what are the types of statement prompts, and really I think the key one is how to get started writing your own statement of purpose. And then we'll wrap up, and we'll talk a little bit about resources on your own campus, and specifically I'll talk to you about a couple of sessions that are happening hosted by SOCNAS and SOCNAS grad chapters at UCSB, where you can actually get feedback on your statement of purpose, even if it's a draft. Okay, so what is the point of a statement of purpose? So the main thing is to explain and show, and really it's more about showing, because you want to like make sure they understand, and the best way to do that is use descriptive examples. So I'll talk about that at the end. But the main thing you want to get across is why you're interested in this particular program. So many times I read a lot of applications. I read like hundreds of applications for these programs every year. And one of the things that's really sad, but I see quite frequently, is students will get through this whole statement and they won't even say why they're interested in the program. Like they just like doing a laundry list of, here's all the cool awards I've won, here's the classes I've taken, here's like my grades, and it's all written out. And then, what do I do with that at the end? So you want to make sure that you explain and show the person reading it why you're interested. It's an opportunity for you to control the narrative. So often, pretty much everybody has some part of their college career or transcript that they're not, that's not the best part of it. For example, for me, I had some rough times in organic chemistry. And some rough times in organic chemistry meant that my grades were kind of eh. And so one of the things that's cool about a statement of purpose is that you can take control of the narrative. So instead of just having someone look at my transcript and be like, "Ugh, that was not like what happened winter quarter." What happened winter quarter sophomore year. I could actually talk about that. And I could control the narrative and kind of control how they view those parts of my application. You can convince them you're a good fit. So this is kind of tying into why you're interested in the program. This is another thing that students often forget to do, is really kind of tailor the statement to each program and say, why should they accept you? Why you're interested is one thing, but like, what are you going to bring to the program? Being memorable is something that it's like, I almost didn't want to put it because it's kind of trite. But it's something to really consider, because if you are just going through a laundry list of like explaining your grades and your CV without, just listing through and not talking about any stories, it's not going to be memorable. What you want to do is tell memorable stories, and you can't tell all the stories of your life. So you got to be strategic, and that's what we'll talk about in a few minutes. So the statement is often a part of a holistic picture. So it's part of your story. So it's something where you can see part of the student, and it's really like what the student chooses to present. And it's part of the application review process. So it goes into consideration along with your grades, along with anything else that you've been asked to supply, your letters of recommendation, etc. So consider it is an important part of your research application. And the point of it is so that the people reviewing applications have more to go off of than just numbers, than just GPAs and classes and things like that. What should be in your statement of purpose? Side note, if you haven't seen in the chat, we have a pipelines information session that's happening on Wednesday, November 18th at 10 a.m. for all of you who are interested in are in community college students who are interested in pipelines, please try to attend that. And you'll have a lot of they'll discuss the program in greater detail, and you can ask your specific questions. So back to the slide. What should be in the statement of purpose? So you want to introduce yourself. Again, this is a chance for them to get to know you. A lot of times you'll want to make this part attention grabbing. And I think a lot of people get really stuck here. A lot of people get stuck here, and they, want to, they want to come up with something like extremely, a literary device. They're trying to think of like, how can I start this like a novel? My advice is don't worry too much about this. Focus on like what the stories are, and then that should really help you. To kind of have not get stuck at the very beginning. So someone just said my audio is kind of clicking. Is anybody still hearing it? Yeah. Okay. Hang on a second. There might be something up with this headphone, so I'm gonna switch it. Oh, Zoom life. Okay, I think you're right, Natalie. Can you all hear me now? Can someone just say yes or no? Yes, okay. So yes, I think you're right. It was my clothing. So I'm back now, and let's do this. Now it's just a little echoey in my head. So anyway, don't get stuck in the introduction. Pick a story that really introduces yourself. Then you want to highlight your relevant experiences and skills. And we'll talk about how to do this strategically, but you want to pick the most relevant stories or experiences. So like a class you took, a trip you took, experience you had in a lab or in an internship, but you want to be strategic. One of the worst things you can do is have just the essays just tons of stories that don't seem connected. So you want to also think about if you've had any challenges or obstacles that you faced. You want to discuss how they influenced you in a positive way. So like I mentioned, my OChem grades, what I would want to discuss in that story, I wouldn't want to dwell too much on how stressful it was to have OChem, two labs from 6 to 9 every night, and how like depressed I was. Like I wouldn't want to go too far in that end without bringing it back to how I learned, perseverance. I learned how to take care of myself mentally, etc. So I'd want to make sure that I had a positive spin on it as well, but highlighting anything that was relevant in terms of experiences. Because things like perseverance and problem solving are characteristics that you want to highlight for someone reviewing your application. And then you want to think about current and future goals and really connecting and making sure that the person reading it knows how this program will help you get to your current and future goals. So we'll talk about that, how to do that in a minute. And then often, depending on the type of statement, they might ask you to do a conclusion. So why should they accept you? You'll want to, you may want to summarize your skills and goals. You may want to end with like, just like a summary or definitive statement of why they should accept you, thank them for the opportunity type of thing. So there's lots of resources online. And I think one thing that I would caution everybody here against would be to try to make it too complicated. I know that the temptation when you go online is to, they're like, okay, you've got to write something that grabs their attention. They read thousands of these a day, and you've got to write like the next great American novel. You don't. When in doubt, keep it simple. And I think for me, what I found in reading lots of applications, what I'm really looking for are kind of 4 questions. I want to know who you are. And specifically, I want to know the things about you, the characters, your skills, things that are relevant to what you're applying for.
I want to know why you're applying. And related to that, what do you want to do in the future? And then the last part was, how can this program help you get there? So I really want to see like who you are and how your particular skills and interests motivate you to apply for this, and how this program will really help you achieve your goals. So there are a few different types of statement prompts, and I think there's kind of two. I've put them in like two categories. So one of them is kind of really general. This is a lot of times what you see in graduate school essays, or kind of big national level scholarships. They're kind of general in terms of the types of essays that they want to see, the types of statements. So example one is, please describe your career plans and outline your reasons for applying. Make sure you indicate your academic or medical areas of interest and describe your research experience and any laboratory work that has stimulated your interest in research. But your personal statement should be no more than 500 words. So, that's an essay where they've said some things that they want. They want your career plans, your reasons for applying, what are your areas of interest and your experience, but it's, how you structure it is up to you. The second example is, this statement should describe the applicant's academic and other interests, describe specific areas of proposed studies, and the reason for wishing to study at Oxford. So I took this one, I was writing letters for a student who was applying for a graduate study at Oxford, and this was the prompt for that student's application. So pretty general, and they're gonna want you to kind of drive the bus in terms of figuring out what goes in this. So just in the chat, you guys can message, how would you start answering this? What would you do to kind of start answering one of these? Any thoughts?
Look at what they're asking for.
What's that?
Look at what they're asking for.
Yeah, so how might you kind of, would you annotate it or make notes in any way, Logan?
Yeah, kind of like highlight career plans, reasons for applying, etc.
Yeah, I would for sure do that. I do that for pretty much everything that I read and I have to write a response to. Like I would do that for an exam. But like obviously for something like this, I would, as Logan says, I would kind of make a note. Natalie said I would make sure to answer everything that they mentioned. So the challenge for things like this, where it's very general, it's really easy to just kind of go through writing your statement and just answer the question. So like the first few, the first paragraph is like, here are my career plans and why I'm applying. And then the next paragraph or set is basically like, here are some experiences that allowed me to become interested in medical school. And I think those are really important parts of getting the statement together, but you might want to organize it differently. You don't have to organize it as if it were bullet points. Anne says that they would do bullet points and then expand. And what you want to do is make sure that when someone's reading it, it doesn't read like bullet points. So I'll talk about that in a minute. So another type of statement prompt is can be moderate to kind of very specific. So these prompts want you to answer specific questions. So often they will have like many of our applications in CSEP are this way, where they'll have, here's a question, and then you get a box, a space to answer that question. And here's another question, and you get a space to insert your answer. So instead of asking you to put together an essay that answers all of these different things, they will kind of break it down for you. And these are nice because they can help you be targeted, but they can also be challenging because it can feel hard to tell like complete stories when you feel like you just need to answer a question. So this is an example, I think from the Quantum Foundry. So discuss your interest in science and the qualities you possess that will make you a good scientist. What have you done both in and out of the classroom that demonstrates your motivation and interest in science? Give specific recent examples. And then another, so you would answer that question, answer that prompt. And then another question or another prompt would be, describe how this internship will help you reach your current educational and career aspirations. So this one I think fits really well into the strategies that you had before. So what Logan was suggesting, and Natalie and Anne, was kind of creating this format by breaking down the general prompts. And so it's really nice when statements actually break it down for you and they say, give us specific recent examples, or describe how the internship will help you reach your current educational career aspirations. I guarantee that the other prompts that I showed you, the general ones, would want that as well, but you would have to figure that out and make sure you did it. So it's nice that some of these prompts just specifically ask you to do that. So how to approach the statement prompt. So we're going to talk about a method that I use to write these statements. And I think what we're going to do, especially since many of you are interested in Quantum Foundry and pipelines and some CSEP programs, we're going to use one of the CSEP program statement prompts as our example, and we're going to kind of think through how we might answer it. And my goal here is to kind of give you some practice in thinking about how you can get started. Because for a lot of people, just getting started is the hardest part. So my suggestion would be, like Logan said, read the instructions carefully. And as Natalie said, make sure to answer any of the specific questions that are asked. So reading through the prompt multiple times, annotating it, highlighting it, whatever you need to do, and then pre-write. So as Anne mentioned, doing the bullet points is a great way to get started and not have to sit down. Like, I don't know if people still do this anymore, but like when you had an essay due, I think a lot of us just sat down and just started like trying to like start from the beginning and go to the end, like just write the essay, the day or two before it's due. It's really great if you can not do that. So my advice is to leave yourself enough time to do at least one draft. I know that it's not always possible with everything, but if at all possible, you need to leave yourself time to do a draft, because you can get feedback on that draft and you can improve it so much just like getting one round of feedback. So leave yourself enough time for that. So here's the Quantum Foundry statement of purpose. So again, these are the questions, and we just went through them, so I won't read them again, but just to focus us in, these are the prompts that we'll be focusing on. So this type of prompt is the one where you have a prompt, and then you have a space to answer it, and then another prompt or question, and then a space to answer it. And so they are going to explicitly say, here are all the things that we want to know. And all you need to do is figure out how to answer each part of the question separately. So it's great. So we can use all the strategies that we've talked about before, and we have the help of the people that wrote the prompt, because they say exactly what they want. They want to know, what have you done in and out of the classroom that demonstrates your motivation and interest in science? And you need to give specific recent examples that show this. So let's think about that first one as we think about how we're going to do this. So like I said, the second step, the first step is to read the questions and annotate and think about what you need to answer. So then the second step is to pre-write. So the first thing that I would do, like literally, is I would get out a piece of paper if you like to write by hand, or I would open up some kind of word processing document. And I would just like bullet point, like Anne said, answer some questions. So I just want everybody to take like 2 minutes and think about, if you're interested in applying to a program, just like, what is one sentence? Why do you want to do the program? And just like throw it in the chat. Yeah, don't be shy. I mean, it's like, it doesn't have to be something super polished, but it's just something to start with. So I just want to see a few more people throw something out there. Okay, so I'm seeing get experience, start networking, learn more, expand skills or improve skills, um, fascinated by the work. That's a great one too. Expand hands-on experience and further develop my career. Awesome. So this was just an example to just get you start thinking about stuff. And it's not, you know, you could take these and, like Anne said earlier, you create bullet points and then you expand on them. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that, how to do that in a second. So for example, how would you expand on wanting to gain experience, hands-on experience? So why would this program particularly help you do hands-on experience? What is it about hands-on experience that's going to help you develop your career? So you can take each of these points and kind of expand on them. So what then, I won't ask you all to do this in the chat, but what you can do is think about relevant experiences in classes. So for example, if you want to expand your hands-on experience or further develop your career, what are the types of experiences in classes that you might have had that would help you to show different skill sets that you have? So for example, you would have to think about classes that you've taken, maybe that gave you some practice in some of the technical skills that are needed for this experience. For example, Nick said that they were looking to expand their hands-on experience. Well, do they have any hands-on experience? You know, did they take any classes that got them to a certain point, but what they really want to do can only happen if they get into this program? So you're thinking about how you can connect these ideas. Write a list of your strengths and skills. So these are things that are kind of uncomfortable, but you'll see how it's all connected. So one of the things that you need to, it's awkward, but you got to get comfortable with doing is highlighting different strengths and skills that you have and making sure that they're relevant to the program. So what interests you about your major or research? So can you guys talk about a little bit what majors you have or what research you're interested in? Can be like just a sentence or a couple words. So what's your major and or what research are you interested in? Physics, astrophysics. Anybody else? All right, physics, condensed matter physics, math, chemistry, mechanical engineering, computer science. Awesome. So, okay, so you have an idea, cell and developmental biology. Awesome. So there's a wide array of interests in this group, which is great. So, okay, now we know what kinds of things you guys are majoring in or interested in. And now you've thought about, okay, why you want to do this program. What kinds of things are interesting to you about your major or research? So thinking about Eric is the one I see in the chat said they want to do something outside the defense industry, perhaps sustainability related. So thinking about just Eric's example, what interests you about sustainability related research? Can you think of any relevant experiences or classes that got you thinking about that field or got you interested, and how this program will help you kind of take the next step in that area? And you can also do pre-writing by writing a list of your future goals. So what I'm hoping you're seeing, and this workshop is too short for us to kind of work through all of these together. normally what I would do is I would set a timer, and we would all have to like just do, 3-minute bullet points answering all these questions. And what it does is it just gets you started to think, gets you writing. They're not in any specific order, so you can kind of think about things however they come together. But once you have some bullet points for each of these questions, and you can obviously do more questions if you want, but once you have some bullet points written down, you can start to connect the dots. You can kind of, you're probably seeing how some of these questions are connected. So how are, what interests you about your major or research connected to your future goals? Well, what are the relevant experiences and classes that connect your interests to your future goals? And how will this program, why do you want to do this program? How will this program help you get to your future goals? So once you kind of get these bullet points out of the way, you can start figuring out how to connect them. And I think this is really a helpful way to just get started with something, because it can be pretty daunting to think about, how am I going to just sit down and write this whole thing, and have it be organized. So this can help you just have like a place to just dump all these different ideas, all these bullet points. And then the next step would be to kind of bring it together and connect your ideas back to the prompt. So let's go back to the Quantum Foundry prompt. Let's go to the first question. So discuss your interest in science and the qualities you possess that will make you a good scientist. What have you done both in and out of the classroom that demonstrates your motivation and interest in science? Give specific recent examples. So refer back to your notes. So again, this is where it's great if you actually opened up a Word doc and like answered these questions, or wrote them down. So assuming that you have done these, you've asked yourself a series of questions and just did some bullet points, which of those kinds of questions will help you answer the specific question? And why I like doing a bunch of questions at first is just kind of gets you thinking and gets you going, so you don't feel like so limited in terms of the way that you're thinking, where you forget things that could be really relevant. So now, like, let's say I did step 2 and I answered all those questions. I had like a bunch of bullet points for each one. And now I'm going to refer back to the prompt and try to think about which of those things might be relevant to answering this question. So this question's asking about my interest in science. So this might go back to my question about what's my major interest, what's my research interest. And so I would pull those bullet points together and expand them to think about sort of that first part of this prompt. Then the prompt says, what have you done both in and out of the classroom that demonstrates your motivation and interest in science? So I would go to where I made a list of experiences and classes that were relevant to my interests. And I might pick a volunteer position that I had in high school that really gave me some experience in the field that I'm interested in. And I might talk about what skills I learned in that, skills or experiences or strengths that I learned as a part of that experience. And then I would connect that to, how this experience demonstrates my scientific interest and motivation. So for example, here's a general example, like if I'm interested in marine biology, and I would talk about, those interests. I would say I've been really interested in marine biology since I was a kid, since I was 3. And what got me really interested in marine biology was this particular field trip that I had in 3rd grade. And here's what we did on this field trip. And here's why it was so impactful. So one of the key things that people, you want to make sure you connect is why you're even choosing this experience or class. So what was important about it? Well, my 3rd grade field trip, I got to observe scientists doing science, and really like the only thing I thought about being was a dolphin trainer at SeaWorld. So I didn't really know that other options were open to me. So actually going out and watching people collect ocean organisms from the bottom of the San Diego Bay or Mission Bay or something, I can't remember where we were. Basically, that experience of watching them pull things up from the deep and just this like for me, like a pure discovery moment of just like, what the heck is that? What's coming up now? And just getting this opportunity to have this like pure like discovery was so motivating for me to kind of just keep pursuing discoveries. And then I would tie it back to how being part of this research program would enable me to continue that that exploration, seeking discoveries. So then the last step would be to outline and then write your draft. So like I mentioned before, you want to make sure that you have a why and you want to clarify it. Like, what's your strongest reason for pursuing whatever internship you're applying for? So is it because you want to use what you're learning in class to make new discoveries? Is it because you want to do a particular type of research? Like, do you want to specifically understand black holes or study a particular disease? So what is the strongest reason for pursuing this opportunity? And then thinking about how this program is going to help you get to that opportunity or get to your goals or achieve your why. I would say talking about 2 to 3 strengths or skill sets that you have that are relevant to the program. So thinking about skills that show you're motivated, you have attention to detail, you are tenacious or persistent. A lot of those things are really important for research programs, and often they will ask you specifically to tell them about examples that demonstrate X, Y, and Z. So it's something worthwhile thinking about, but just making sure that you connect it back to, why it's important for these programs. And then I can't emphasize this enough. You want to make sure that you show, don't tell. You want to make sure that you use the examples from your experiences, classes to demonstrate your strengths or skills or motivation or interest. So make sure that whatever story you're telling actually connects back to why you want to be part of the program, how the program will help you, what you're bringing to the program. And again, that just goes back into what makes you a good fit for the program, how you benefit from the program, and what you bring to the program. So if you are really good at working with people or solving problems, communicating, you have a positive attitude, all of these things are great to talk about because they're really valuable in a research environment and also in just an intern environment as a whole. So all of that is good to discuss, but you just want to make sure that you figure out how you're going to organize it. And of course, you want to make sure that you answer what they're asking for you in the prompt. I'm talking about this kind of generally because some of the prompts will say, this is what I want to know. And others, like you saw, will say, tell me about yourself and why we should pick you. And that will be the prompt. So it's good to kind of have your own internal organizational structure. And that's what I'll kind of wrap with today, is thinking about the statement of purpose is really, it's your friend. It's actually the best part of the application for you as the applicant because you have the most control over it. Your grades are what they are. Your CV is what it is. A lot of that stuff, the letter of recommendation, you ask for it, but someone else writes it. This is the statement. This is the part that you really have control over. So I would say it's your friend because you can control the narrative. You can tell the story that you want to tell about the experience. Obviously, I'm not saying to make up fake news about your life, but you can choose how the person interprets various life events. You can tell them about challenges you've had and how you've overcome them. And that's really a great opportunity to have. And you can explain things that have happened maybe in your transcript and really spin that to be an experience that has shaped you. Definitely give yourself enough time. Like I said, we've all been there. There's probably not a person here who hasn't written a paper or done something at the very last minute. And it's going to happen sometimes. But since we're all talking about this right now, we're talking about We're talking about like programs that you're interested in. I'm telling you to go check out the websites. We don't have the deadlines for the programs yet for most of them, although pipelines deadlines are up. So go make sure if you're interested in pipelines, you check out the site ASAP. But give yourself enough time. You want to make sure you can get some drafts together. And think about, again, the 4 questions that you want to make sure that you're answering in some way as part of your statement. Who you are, why you're applying, what do you want to do in the future, and how can this program help you get there? And then if you give yourself enough time, you want to be able to get feedback on your application. And so, oh my gosh, I don't have it open right now. Marianne, can you put in the chat the dates of the feedback session? We are having 2 feedback sessions for students who are writing statements of purpose. So I think most of you are going to be writing statements of purpose for research internship programs. So, and then there's some students who are writing statements for graduate school. So for the grad school feedback session, it is going to be this Friday, November 13th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And then if you're writing a statement of purpose for undergrad research, it's November 20th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And you can RSVP at a link. So Marianne or Ophi, could you put the link in the chat? Sorry, I forgot to put this in this session today, because we just kind of finalized these today, or in the past day. So is anybody, like, if you're thinking about, okay, I don't think I'll have anything together by Friday or next Friday, you can just start with a draft. You can start with, like Anne said earlier, some bullet points that you've expanded on. Or if you take a look at the program and you think about, okay, these are the types of questions that they ask, how can I do some free writing? You can even get feedback on those. So let's see. If you want to find out more information about any of our programs, you can email me. So here's my email address. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or UCSB Shoreline if you're a UCSB student. And thank you, Marianne, for putting the link in the chat. So if you want to register for the feedback sessions, you'll need to click that link. They are space limited because we're actually going to be having some graduate students at UCSB who are volunteering their time to actually read your statements and provide feedback. So they have a limited number of people that can do that session. So if you're interested, sign up sooner rather than later. And we'd love to see you there. So with that, I will end for today and I will take any questions. So if you have questions, you can definitely unmute or you can put them in the chat. All right, Nick had a question, can't find the pipeline's deadline on this site. Let's see. Let me stop sharing real quick, Nick. And I'll see if I can find that as well. Another message, pipeline's deadline is still being decided in early February. Okay. Most of them are going to be in early February, although, Nick, are you a community college student or a UCSB student? Santa Barbara City College. So let me see if I could find it. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, it looks like the application for, yeah, the community college pipelines application deadline is going to be February. For UCSB students, it's the end of the month. So if you're interested in, if you're at UCSB and you're interested in pipelines, you'll want to go to the info session that is coming up, as Ophi said. You're welcome, Nick. Sorry for the confusion. We're still, the deadlines are all kind of floating around, and I appreciate you asking the question so I can make sure to look it up and find that information. So any other questions from people in the chat? Or if you want to unmute, I'd love to talk. If you want to show your face, that's great too. I totally get it. It's like 7 o'clock. I don't want to show my face either. Oh, but here we are. You're welcome, Andrew. Okay, if nobody has any other questions, then we will wrap for today. Thank you all for coming. And if you're interested in the info sessions, click the link that Marianne sent. We hope that you'll hear about it, you'll get emails, but as Ophi said, it's really filling up. So spaces are almost full for both of the sessions. So if you're interested, sign up tonight. Yes, you guys have a good evening too. If you're all in California, then it's only 7 o'clock, but if anybody else is East Coast or whatever, then thanks for staying up. And have a good night.
Thank you, Sammy.
You're welcome, Miriam.
That was really helpful.
Good. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I don't usually like
any previous.
I'm usually like just kind of scattered. So hopefully it was helpful. Yeah, hopefully it's too bad about the my headphone hitting my jacket. I don't usually wear a jacket, and so I never noticed that clicking sound. So at least I had another headset so I could switch. This one's better. This is the one I use for teaching, but it just makes my hair looks crazy. So I don't like wearing it. All right.
So